Questioning Literacy Instruction with a Foucauldian Lens. In this presentation, I examine some trends in literacy education through the theoretical lens of Michel Foucault. Post-structuralism is a philosophical response to the structuralism of the 20th century, and it is important to note post-structuralism does not refer to one fixed definition, but a range of theoretical stances. According to Jackson and Mazzei, structuralism focuses on the closed system of language which produces a social reality. Post-structuralists deny that ideas are the source of language and argue that ideas are the effects of the meaning of language and do not exist in a separate reality. In other words, the meaning of a given word is context-dependent, and there is no definite meaning. This interest in the destabilization of linguistic boundaries led post-structuralism into a theoretical positioning which attacked the influence of the Enlightenment beliefs about knowledge, truth, and social development. Michel Foucault, who is the focus of this presentation, is considered a post-structuralist. However, Foucault rejected the classification of post-structuralism because he saw it was limiting. Classically trained as a philosopher, Foucault's influences included Martin Heidegger and Friedrich Nietzsche. Using Foucault's theories of power knowledge, I suggest that literacy must experience a problematization as a way to begin privileging all of our students' literacies. French philosopher Michel Foucault, like other post-structuralists, separated himself from the Marxists and critical theory. Foucault rejected the Marxist ideological construction of power. Marxists state that hegemonic power is challenged by a well-informed population which can overthrow the power structure and create a utopian society where power is shared equally. To avoid this issue, Marxists state that those in power create a system where the populace is diluted into a collective consciousness which reinforces the idea that hard work and effort can change their economic and social standing. According to Foucault, Marxist theory incorrectly states that hegemonic power is maximized if the oppressed are not aware of their oppression. Foucault argues that people are willing to live in a level of oppression. In his view, power is inescapable and it pacifies the oppressed society. The oppressed society consents and participates in the oppression of power against one another. So oppression becomes a consequence of the societal consent. According to Foucault, at least one individual is going to refuse to consent and become a nonconformist. Nonconformity, a necessary part of this system, creates otherness. Society labels the nonconformists as criminals who commit crimes which must be punished. Foucault argued that normalizing power determines what we see as normal and creates a belief that our decisions are our own. Foucault emphasized we are trained by our parents, schools, churches, and peers to accept and replicate certain behaviors as normal. Traditionally, literacy is defined as the ability to read and write. Literacy instruction privileges a very narrow band of materials, generally print and paper. New literacies is defined as multimodal, collaborative, and technology-driven literacy. As a traditional learning modality, writing has changed because of new literacies. The technology and software involved in writing revolutionized the writing process itself, allowing the author to write, revise, and edit easily. Because of technology, writers create email, text messages, instant messages, and a variety of multimedia projects. Reading is another traditionally school-related modality transformed through new literacies. Readers, when incorporating new literacies, must understand a variety of symbolic systems, including visual, auditory, spatial, and synesthetic meaning systems. Additionally, students must understand the process of navigating the text. While there are similarities between traditional and online reading, the added dimension of technology, computer, tablet, or phone screen, and the work required to manipulate those devices changes the reading environment significantly. Instruction still values traditional print and paper technologies to the exclusion of newer technologies. Teachers and tests continue to exclude the new literacies with which students engage. Foucault's arguments can offer insights into the instructive practices of teachers which privilege specific literacies, as traditional text and paper and pencil writing. Merchant used a case study approach to study the use of a virtual 3D world educational program as a teaching tool in an elementary classroom. Foucault argued that society enforces compliance with the power structure, and in his study, Merchant discovered that there were 3 factors within the school which imposed compliance on the part of the teachers and the students. Merchant noted in his discussion of his findings that the curriculum and its emphasis on traditional literacy practices restricted the use of an innovative program such as a 3D virtual world. Merchant provided an excerpt of a teacher's interview where the educator complained that the boys were not fooled by the computer program into traditional writing tasks which incorporated pencil and paper after using the educational program. It appeared to Merchant that, in general, the teachers clung to their traditional roles and their expectations of literacy. Finally, Merchant discussed the effect that high-stakes standardized testing and teacher expectations of appropriate literacy behaviors. He noted that standardized testing had a chilling effect on the students' collaborative efforts and secured the identity of pupils in individual performances of ability. Merchant demonstrated the complete effectiveness of power knowledge on students. He asked the students about the writing they completed in their class. According to Merchant, the students replied with discussions about writing which occurred outside of the virtual world. Without awareness of what was occurring, the students incorporated the idea that the only writing which counted was the writing completed in a traditional sense. Next, he asked the children about the reason that they had to take an upcoming high-stakes exam. According to Merchant, all the children responded with a variation of the test being an opportunity to demonstrate their educational achievements. None of the students considered whether the test was an appropriate measure of a quality educational experience. The classroom instruction in Merchant's case study highlights the need for transformative literacy instruction, which calls for the disruption of the status quo. Merchant emphasized how teachers in his study privilege traditional literacy tasks over new literacies. Moreover, we should address in-service teachers to encourage them to incorporate the new literacies of the 21st century. Foucault asserted that becoming aware of the power which is utilized to force individuals into docility may allow the person to become more autonomous. Teachers and students who learn to redefine literacy can become more aware of the choices available to them. A gap between the need for the 21st century instruction and 20th century methodologies exists in literacy instruction in American classrooms. Despite the prevalence of computers, smartphones, and gaming systems, literacy traditionally values book and paper. Technology changes the literacy interactions of individuals. New literacies provokes literacy out of its complacent authority of defining literacy, and it decenters the discipline.